So I keep getting asked, now that Authenticity Perfumes has a new release out, which do I like more? Do I like the new release, Fresh Boss, more than my previous favorite, Summer Vibes? Today we're going to get to the bottom of it. Stay tuned. So, let's get the elephant out the room right away, because performance seems to be like the biggest thing I get asked about when it comes to any and all fragrances. And I can assure you, I wouldn't say 12 hours on these, but definitely in that 9-10 hour range. And for being as fresh as these are, that's not, I'm not going to say absurd, but that's pretty extreme for extremely fresh fragrances. So we'll get performance out the way now. Neither one's going to get a point in that category because they both are super long lasting for being fresh, and they both have that type of projection that is kind of beyond arm's length for about 2 or so hours. And you're definitely going to have people smelling you when you walk by, mask or not, no matter where you live or what your situation. People are going to be able to smell you with these, and they're going to think you smell good. Let's get down into the scents for both of these. So we'll start with Summer Vibes, which is a reformulated version of the original Summer Vibes, which I do have a bottle of. Different color juice. This is like a lemonade color. So still a beautiful fragrance. It didn't bother me that it wasn't a heavy fragrance. I mean, for being a light, fresh fragrance, I thought being light was the way to go with it. But when they reformulated it, because this was one of my 2 or 3 favorites from the house, but when they reformulated it, added some more density and made it have a bit more just bite, a little bit more in your face, it actually became my favorite from the house. So at first I was like, well, it didn't really need to be reformulated. But after I spent some time with this, yeah, the newer one's definitely better than the old one. Don't get me wrong. I'm still glad to be one of the few in the proud that have the original version. When it comes to Summer Vibes, the newer one's definitely the way to go. So I will put the notes on screen for you guys. And forget about the notes. What does it smell like in layman's terms? For the average person that's going to smell this or may consider purchasing it or getting a sample of it, it's extremely fresh, super citrus fresh, and soapy up top. It's a very soapy shower gel kind of fragrance. The shower gel aspect of it does fade after about 30 minutes or so, and you're left with a lot of citrus. It's very woody at that point, and then there's this cannabis note that adds a little bit of a fresh herbal quality. It's not a fresh spice of any kind. It's a fresh greenery. With a cannabis note, I know that can be kind of strange to hear that it doesn't add any spice or warmth, and it's not a darker note, because at least in my experience, traditionally cannabis notes have a bit more edge to them. They're a little bit more of a darker green herbal component, whereas it doesn't take away from the freshness of this. The name and the color scheme of Summer Vibes is very fitting because it will give you that summer vibe when you smell it, when you spray this one on. Fresh is an understatement. This is an extremely fresh fragrance that, like I said, it's got some familiarity up top with it being mega citrus and soapy shower gel up top, but after about 15 to 30 minutes it really starts to separate itself in the dry down with the woodiness, with that added cannabis note. And for that, it has been my absolute favorite of all the offerings from Authenticity Perfumes. Next, we're talking Fresh Boss, the newest release. So there's a lot of hype surrounding this one. A lot of people have been asking me about it. A lot of people have been getting their hands on it, and don't get me wrong, beautiful fragrance. I just wore it few days ago. Actually, at the recording of this video, it was yesterday that I wore it, and I've been doing some testing prior, and I love a good fragrance with black currant in it, which I'll have the notes on screen for you guys. This one still very fresh up top, but this one's a bit more fruity because of that black currant note. Has a little bit more bitter fruity citrus up top, and it's much creamier than Summer Vibes. So for this being fresh, I mean fresh is even in the name, I still feel Summer Vibes is fresher. But at the same time, the originality and the character that Fresh Boss has really makes this one stand up, and I think is probably the best release outside of Silver Luxe from the house, because Silver Luxe added a complexity and kind of diverse release that they didn't really have, something that was really great for the colder weather, that had a lot of character but didn't smell like anything else. So Silver Luxe was a nice game-changing fragrance for Authenticity Perfumes, where I feel like from a fresh fragrance standpoint, as good as Summer Vibes is, Fresh Boss is a nice change of pace fragrance that's really going to add some more fresh diversity to the offerings from the house, because that black currant with the sweet orange that's up top and this very, very well pronounced creamy sandalwood that's in here, it really takes it to another level, because they have a creamy fragrance in Barbershop that is one of my favorites. That, Summer Vibes, and this are now my 3 favorites. Haven't lost any love for Barbershop, but this one's just got so much more character than Barbershop, whereas Barbershop is a safer fragrance, and I'm not saying this is daring by any means, but this one has a bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Character is a good word, but that's not really what I want to go with here. It has more of an edge because of the bitterness of the black currant that's in this one. I love when that's well done in a fragrance, and putting black currant in this fragrance was a great move to go with that sweet orange. I really think they blend very well up top to just take you right into that creaminess of the dry down. It's not heavily nuanced. It does slightly change as it dries. But Fresh Boss is probably one of the better releases that I've gotten my nose on in 2021 so far. And for it being a small indie house, that says a lot, because I get my nose on a lot of fragrances month in and month out. And so far, this is one of the fragrances that is released in 2021 that's excited me the most, that has really left an indelible impression on me. Again, we're talking about Fresh Boss from Authenticity Perfumes. So now it comes down to the verdict. Is Summer Vibes still my favorite, or has Fresh Boss taken the throne? You know, that's a very, very tough one, and I've given it a lot of thought. And for as much of a great release as I think Fresh Boss has been, I still give the slight edge to Summer Vibes, because it's one of the more unique, mega fresh fragrances that's out there that actually performs, even though Fresh Boss has a ton of character. And the beauty of this is you don't have to necessarily pick one or the other, because you can always get your hands on a sample. They do offer samples from Authenticity Perfumes, or you can get a discovery set, try the whole house, which is going to include both of these, and decide on a bottle from there. But I have to be honest with you, if I'm picking 3 fragrances out of the, I want to say it's 9 or 10 fragrances they have now, these 2 are a must, as well as Barbershop in my opinion. But if you're only going to get 2, get both of these. Get both of these. Yes, they're both freshies, with this one being more of a sandalwood fragrance than you might think, but they're completely different scents, and they'll really give you a diverse collection of fresh fragrances from one house for an affordable price that both perform great. You're not going to smell like everybody else. You're not going to spend a lot of money. If you live in a warmer climate, it's kind of the way to go, especially if you're in Texas, Louisiana, any of the places I've lived prior. Fresh fragrances are kind of a year-round thing for you in the South, and these are 2 fantastic ones. If you got to pick one, if it's got to come down to one, I still say Summer Vibes is the best from the house, with this being now a very, very close second. Barbershop now falling from my second favorite to my third favorite. So, those of you that have been watching, those of you that have seen videos where I've talked about Barbershop, that should tell you a lot about what I think of Fresh Boss. Well guys, that's my thoughts and feelings on my still favorite from the house, Summer Vibes, and the newest release, Fresh Boss. And until next time, do me a real quick favor, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. So I do appreciate all the feedback, and I love hearing from you guys. How many of you have gotten samples or bottles of these already, and you totally know what I'm talking about here, and you totally get it, because these are great releases, great original fragrances. They have their uniqueness, which is very difficult to do when it comes to fresh fragrances. That is very difficult to do, to make something unique that has character, that will intrigue the seasoned and trained nose, or even somebody that's got 20 bottles that doesn't just want a bunch of blue fragrances over and over. Trust me, I get it. And until next time, I will say, if you get your hands on Summer Vibes or Fresh Boss, you give them a spray now, I'm very confident you'll thank me later. Have a good one, guys.